Gambling! Whether you believe it to be a benign pastime or an addictive gateway to nothing but pain and suffering, I think we can all agree that gambling should be reserved for adults only. However, these days we are seeing rampant gambling advertisements aimed at minors, randomized loot crate style items popping up in kids' toys, and games ripe with microtransactions. How did we get here? And how exactly are we going to get out of this modern gambling hell? Let's take a deep dive into the world of children's gambling to see precisely how insane this modern issue is. Now, contrary to popular belief, gambling during childhood isn't exactly a new phenomena. Whether it was playing with marbles 100 years ago or spinning a dreidel thousands of years ago, some games enjoyed by children have always had gambling elements. But there's a significant difference between this and this.
Be anything, build anything.
The first big explosion of randomized, chance-based elements being critical to a children's property that I can remember came in the form of Pokémon in the late 90s. Sure, you had arcades before that featured chance-based elements, but Pokémon was designed to entice young fans to hoard every Pokémon thing they could. Can you just imagine like being a parent in the late 90s who's struggling financially, and then your kid gets into a property where the tagline is "Gotta catch 'em all"? Like you're just in one room balancing your checkbook, and in the other room you just keep hearing, "Gotta catch 'em all, gotta catch 'em all, gotta catch 'em all, gotta catch 'em all, gotta catch 'em all, Pokémon." While merch and games could be bought easily enough, if you wanted those sweet, sweet Pokémon cards, you had to engage in a game of chance. You'd go and buy a pack of 11 completely randomized cards. Sometimes you would get a rare card worth hundreds of dollars, and other times you'd get a Psyduck. You'd be hoping for that sweet holographic Charizard, only to get like a Rattata, a Professor Oak, and some energy cards. It happened to the best of us. But one could argue that Pokémon wasn't that bad. The game prioritized trading and building a community, so having a card game with chance elements encouraged you to go out, make friends, and trade cards that you wanted. While many card games followed the chance-based formula before this, Pokémon was the first insanely successful worldwide hit that marketed these elements to children. Sure, maybe a few kids got into fights over Pokémon cards or spent a little too much allowance money on packs, but in the late 90s, this was pretty contained. You didn't have children bombarded with gambling commercials and streamers and all this bullshit like they are today. Plus, the internet was in its infancy then, so kids weren't exposed to videos of people winning big while being passively encouraged to try to do the same. It was a simpler time! I just want to go back! Through the early 2000s, we didn't really see gambling pushed to kids. Generally, a product would be advertised to a kid, they'd bug their parents for it, and then get it and enjoy it. That was it. But corporations started to learn something during this time. Something dark, something devious. Something that would open Pandora's box and ruin everything. While there was no one moment that caused gambling to be pushed to kids, when the Elder Scrolls Oblivion was dominating sales charts and winning dozens of awards, friend of the channel Todd Howard released horse armor for $2.50, and slowly a realization dawned on the market. You could spend millions of dollars in multiple years working on a product and then selling it for $50. Or you could shit out some garbage in an afternoon and sell it for $2.50. Sure, most of your user base wouldn't be buying the garbage for $2.50, but a significant chunk would. And most importantly, the time spent versus potential revenue earned for one of these things is a whole lot different than the other. And unfortunately, the wider market in and outside of gaming started to take notice. Hey, just a friendly you to Todd Howard. You can see why I hate this man so much in these videos. Okay, it wasn't all Todd Howard, as MapleStory did this first in 2004, and selling stupid horse armor is different than having gambling in your game. But this did open the door to nickel and diming your customers on massive games. Games like FIFA or the Chinese MMO ZT Online experimented with this, but it wasn't until 2010 when Valve upped the ante significantly. Get it? upped the ante. Anyway, Valve took this idea and pumped it full of more steroids than Heavy Weapons Guy. While Team Fortress 2 was rated M, its cartoony style and addictive gameplay was highly appealing to kids, so they chose to give players free loot boxes when they played the game. But wait! If you wanted to actually open those loot crates and see the cool hats and weapons inside, you had to pay money for keys. There was this kind of deceptive element to it where you may not even care about all of this, but the more you played the game and the more your inventory fills with these unopened boxes, the more likely you will be inclined to purchase a key or two. Then you see more and more players with all these unique elements, and you keep playing the game, and soon one key turns into 2, which turns into 10, and then next thing you know, you're not even playing the game for fun. Instead, you're just farming loot crates all day long. This all came to a head in 2013 when Valve took this highly profitable gambling system and introduced it to their largest property ever, Counter-Strike. The match had been lit, and Valve would go on to make billions of dollars. But wait a minute, Pancake Sean, how do we know that kids were affected by this gambling system? Well, check this out.
I started gambling on Counter-Strike when I was probably 13 years old.
13 years old.
I think I was 14.
Valve definitely does have an underage gambling problem.
When I was young, that's the most easily influential age to get people in, because I can't go to a real casino and gamble.
Like what I did back then was I went to our local video game store, bought like $20 worth of Steam credits. I would buy skins with those $20 credits. No verification at all.
Remember that time to revenue ratio we looked at earlier? Making a weapon skin can take one junior developer an afternoon, but putting that into a gambling system that preys on the most addict-prone players can make one afternoon's worth of work a multi-million-dollar profit. The floodgates had opened, and video games were overrun with these elements. Star Wars Battlefront 2 made progression near impossible unless you threw money into their loot crate system. The Dungeon Keeper remake took a classic title and made it unplayable unless you spent thousands. And as mobile gaming, the gaming medium most likely to be enjoyed by children, continued to grow, digital storefronts were filled with addictive microtransaction garbage aimed at turning babies into addicts. There are thousands of stories about kids spending their parents' money on gambling or microtransactions in mobile games, and many, many more cases where young people are developing bad habits or getting outright addicted to gambling because of these games. Just check this out.
At 16, I won 64 grand from a 50p bet. The closer I got towards being 18, the more I deluded myself that I was actually good at it. Like, let me in, like get me going again. Let me use this money. I want to make more and more and more. And then that didn't happen. I lost about 40 grand, and then I've lost a further 80,000 or so over 11 years of addiction.
Video games marketed towards children are full of gambling elements. But what if you don't let your kids play video games? What if you forbid them from picking up a controller or a phone and instead let them just play with dolls and traditional toys? Maybe you live in the middle of nowhere and you just take your kid to Target so they can buy something and oh my god, what is that?
LOL Surprise OMG Remix Super Surprise!
Just mix them, shake them, and create your micro beast!
Treasure X! Join the hunt for gold!
Unwrap, peel, reveal! 5 surprises every time!
Treasure X, Funko Pop Mystery Minis, Labubu, and Mr. Beast. How many kids do you need to corrupt, Jimmy? How much is too much? So back in the day, a kid sees a toy, buys the toy, and then they enjoy it. But money-grubbing stains have realized that if they introduce gambling elements into physical toys for kids, they're more likely to get those kids involved in those toys, and those kids are going to spend more and more money than they otherwise would have. I walked through my local Target like a Karen with a Stanley Cup full of cocaine and found that nearly every single aisle of kids' toys had toys in them with randomized gambling-like elements. But Pancake Sean, can't kids just not buy this stuff? Sure they can. If they want to be losers. You see, kids have always borne the brunt of targeted advertisements, and while print and TV ads could instill a little bit of FOMO, now there is an entire digital ecosystem designed to trick kids into thinking they could make lots of money and be the coolest guy on the block if they buy into these gambling-like toys. With platforms like Twitch having kids and teens as one of their core audiences, and this weird parasocial relationship developing between streamers lawmakers and their audiences, is it any wonder that gambling institutions pay streamers to gamble on stream and make it seem like anyone who gambles is destined to win? You got stuttering XQC over here gambling live on stream to an audience that is primarily children, and he's being paid to do so. Remember, the mind of a kid or teen is stupid, so when they see Big Daddy XQC gambling and winning in what is probably a rigged scenario paid for by gambling websites, of course they're going to be enticed to gamble too. You see, kids are idiots. If they see someone they love and trust gambling and winning, they're going to think that they'll win if they gamble too. When that person puts out a bunch of bullshit with gambling elements to it, they're even more enticed to buy. Then, when they inevitably lose, they think something is wrong. They see videos of people they trust and others who love these figures winning, so they start to think that their win is just around the corner. Then they drop all this money into stupid Mr. Beast plastic, gain nothing, and Mr. Beast walks away with more money while they become more prone to addiction. While many toys and activities geared towards children have always had chance-based elements, you have this modern day storm that is pushing children towards gambling. You have things like lax regulations into gambling advertisements towards kids, brands and influencers actively advertising to impressionable children, and a social media environment that highlights winners while ignoring the majority that lose. So, what's the solution here? Well, like most things, this starts at a personal level. If you have kids or young siblings or young people you care about, make sure they're not raised by an iPad without you being there. A lot of people like to say that the way to fix this problem is enacting new legislation and fixing the problem from the top down. The problem is, a lot of these gambling institutions are paying off lawmakers to not write laws to stop this. But the truth is, you can mitigate the vast majority of this risk if you just take part in your children's recreation time. The kids who are devouring streams and stuck in this cycle are usually left to their own devices by parents that are super busy or couldn't care less. Remember, children's minds are highly malleable, and you're going to have to ask yourself, who do you want to mold the mind of the young people that you care about? Do you want you to be part of that process, or do you want to leave it to these guys?
What the f is wrong with my gun? I'm about to kick my monitor!
Made 300k and
Last player standing. The f you say to me, you little s***? You shut up when I'm talking to you!
While mitigating the risk of this starts at home, there could eventually be a light at the end of the tunnel. Eventually, lawmakers could pass something that restricts a gambling institution's ability to advertise towards children, or legislation could be passed to restrict influencers or streamers from promoting gambling to minors. I mean, it's not like our legislators are a bunch of greedy octogenarians who are so wildly out of touch with our modern digital landscape that they don't even know this is an issue. I mean, if that was the case, we would probably not even...
Well, how do you sustain a business model in which users don't pay for your service?
Senator, we run ads.
I'm communicating with my friends on Facebook and indicate that I love a certain kind of chocolate. All of a sudden, I start receiving advertisements for chocolate.
Chocolate!
What if I don't want to receive those commercial advertisements?
People have a control over how their information is used in ads in the product today.
I have a 7-year-old granddaughter who picked up her phone before the election, and she's playing a little game, kind of game a kid would play, and up on there pops a picture of her grandfather. And I'm not going to say into the record what kind of language was used around that picture of her grandfather, but I'd ask you, how does that show up on a 7-year-old's iPhone who's playing a kid's game?
Congressman, iPhone is made by a different company, and so, you know, I mean...
it might have been an Android.
Yeah, we're fine.